the most creepy abandoned places and their stories. There are many abandoned places around the world, but some are very creepy indeed. Please, if you are new to my YouTube channel, please subscribe. Long past their heyday, these 10 creepy abandoned buildings, wrecked ships, sunken cities, and old military installations are some of the scariest places in the world. Currently some of them have been redeveloped or demolished in recent times, but their legacy is still fresh in the minds of those who visited them. A few of them are strictly off limits, yet others are free for you to visit if you are brave enough. 1. The Jetstar Rollercoaster was a spooky abandoned fairground ride. The Jetstar Rollercoaster source, Anthony Quintano FLICKR location, Seaside Heights, New Jersey. Building facility type, abandoned fairground ride. Last recorded use, 2002 to 2012. Description: the Jetstar Rollercoaster was once a popular attraction between the 1970s and 2000s. The owners did attempt to sell the site, but it was not financially viable to refurbish it. It was finally stricken down by the superstorm Sandy in 2012 and left to rust for 6 months in the Atlantic Ocean before being demolished. 2. Pripyat, the Chernobyl abandoned city. Pripyat source, Hive Wikimedia Commons location, Ukraine-Belarus border. Building facility type, abandoned settlement ghost town. Last recorded use, 1986. Description: Pripyat was founded as a Soviet nuclear city in 1970 to house workers for the nearby ill-fated Chernobyl nuclear power station. It takes its name from the nearby Pripyat River and was officially recognized as a city in 1979 with a population in excess of 49,000. Related: why are we so attracted to abandoned places? In 1986, as the nuclear facility faced meltdown, the entire city was evacuated. Access to the city is currently administered by Ukraine's Ministry of Emergencies that control activities within the Chernobyl exclusion zone. Radiation levels have fallen considerably since 1986, with equivalent doses ranging from 1 to 336 microsievert per hour. Today the city is the very definition of a ghost town. 3. The 107-year-old floating forest, SS Ayrfield. SS Ayrfield source, Mizuni Wikimedia Commons location, Homebush Bay, Sydney, Australia. Building facility type, shipwreck. Last recorded use, 1972. Launched from the UK in 1911 under the name SS Carimal. Description: Homebush Bay used to be home to various ship-breaking operations during the mid-20th century. Various wrecked hulls remain in the area, including the most famous of them, the SS Ayrfield. The ship was built and launched from the UK in 1911 and later registered as SS Ayrfield in Australia in 1912 as a steam collier. It transported supplies during WW2 and returned to service as a steam collier post-war until it was decommissioned in 1972. Most of its superstructure was reclaimed and scrapped during the 1970s, but shipbreaking operations ceased in the same decade, leaving the hull to float ominously in the bay. Nature has since reclaimed the ship, creating an amazingly beautiful, yet creepy, abandoned shipwreck. 4. The Hotel de Salto is a haunted abandoned hotel. Abandoned Hotel de Salto source, Petrus Wikimedia Commons location, Tequendama Falls, Colombia. Building facility type, abandoned hotel. Last recorded use, 1990s. Description: the Hotel de Salto was first opened in 1928 to serve tourists visiting the nearby 157-meter Tequendama Falls. Reports of contaminated waters led tourists to begin to lose interest in visiting the hotel, and it was forced to close its doors in the early 1990s. The building was converted to a museum in 2012. Locals claim that people have decided to use the site to commit suicide, leading many to believe it's haunted. 5. This abandoned Soviet submarine base gives you chills. Abandoned Soviet submarine base source, Mucking Fagnets Reddit location, Pacific Submarine Fleet Nuclear Shelter, Pavlovsk, Russia. Building facility type, abandoned military or governmental building. Last recorded use, 1980s. Left unfinished. Description: the Pavlovsk Soviet-era nuclear submarine base was built between the 1960s, was abandoned and left unfinished in the 1980s. It is thought to have been built to serve as a nuclear bunker to protect the Soviet Union's precious nuclear submarines. The base features 2 large tunnels to house submarines with a maze of much smaller ones for personnel. Today it still remains abandoned and can often be found with frozen water in the submarine docking areas. 6. The Haunted New Bedford Orpheum. New Bedford Orpheum. Source: Mark Bailey. Wikimedia Commons. Location: New Bedford, Massachusetts, USA. Building facility type: abandoned theater. Last recorded use: circa 1962. Description: the New Bedford Orpheum, or Orpheum Theater, is a now vacant theater and movie house on Water Street, New Bedford, Massachusetts. The building opened its doors on April 15, 1912. If that sounds familiar, it's the same day the Titanic was struck down. The theater was closed in 1958 and was only opened for special occasions thereafter. It was later sold to a tobacco company who used it for storage in 1962, but it is now largely void. Today it's a spookily eerie place to behold, but there are plans afoot to revive the building by a non-profit organization. 7. This subway tunnel in Kiev is really creepy. Subway tunnel in Kiev. Source: General Kosmosa. Location: Kiev, Ukraine. Building facility type: abandoned tunnel. Last recorded use: unknown. Description: there are some parts of the Kiev metro system that is rarely, if ever, visited or used. These sections of the tunnel are hidden deep beneath the city, are reminiscent of scenes from the James Cameron classic, Aliens. Many of these tunnels are often flooded and are so rarely maintained that stalactites have started to grow from the tunnel ceilings. 8. This abandoned submarine base in Balaklava is somewhere you wouldn't visit alone. Submarine base, Balaklava. Source: Andrew Butko. Wikimedia Commons. Location: Balaklava, Crimea. Building facility type: abandoned military or governmental building. Last recorded use: still in partial use. Description: here's another Soviet-era submarine docking facility, but this one isn't completely abandoned but is still very creepy. It seems Russian communists have a penchant for building imposing and scary underground facilities. Decommissioned after the fall of the Soviet Union, this was once a top-secret facility near Balaklava. It was specifically designed to be able to withstand a nuclear strike and is deep underground. The structure was touted as virtually indestructible with its labyrinth of corridors and docks crowned with a shell of concrete and steel that was designed to resist a 100-kiloton blast. It was converted into a naval museum in recent times but has since closed because of the recent geopolitical issues in Crimea. The facility is currently disputed between Ukraine and Russia. 9. A creepy abandoned train station. Creepy abandoned train station. Source: Hans 084/Wikimedia Commons. Location: Sukhumi, Abkhazia, Georgia. Building facility type: abandoned train station. Last recorded use: between 1992 and 1993. Description: the now derelict train station at Sukhumi, Abkhazia in Georgia was once a thriving rail hub for the city. When the railway finally reached the city in the 1930s, construction work began with the first station opening in 1940. The line later became incorporated into the Transcaucasian Railway with the current facility built in the mid-1950s. Built in the Stalinist architectural style, the building is both beautiful and foreboding in equal measures. It finally closed its doors during the war in Abkhazia when loyalist Georgian and rebel forces clashed during the early 1990s. Today much of the building has been partially reclaimed by nature, making for an interesting and creepy experience. 10. Spooky military hospital in Germany. Bielitz 10 Hospital. Source: Oligraphy. Wikimedia Commons. Location: Bielitz 10 Hospital, Bielitz, Germany. Building facility type: abandoned military or governmental building. Last recorded use: around 1994 to 1995. Description: the Bielitz 10 Hospital is situated near Berlin in a little town called Bielitz, famous for asparagus. It was originally built at the beginning of the 20th century to treat tuberculosis, with the entire facility comprising around 60 buildings. It was commandeered as a military hospital during the World Wars and was also used for Nazi experiments during WW2. During the final days of the war, the facility was captured by Soviet forces and became their biggest military treatment center outside of Russia until 1994. Small parts of it are still in use for neurological research and treatment, but most are left derelict. Thanks for watching to the end. See you on my next video.